the AZ Wildcats podcast. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, you will get $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code PHNX. Place a pregame moneyline wager in the amount of at least $10 on any market at standard odds price. You will receive $10 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Just make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Please, plus join at the BetMGM Sportsbook at State Farm Stadium for all Suns away games. Our PHNX watch parties presented by Neutral will feature food and drink specials, PHNX giveaways, and BetMGM deposit matches. Join us by grabbing your free ticket in the show notes. Check out the show notes for all the details. And now let's hear Shane Diefenbach with the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
All right. Thank you, Shane. Now, joined by Jason Scheer, I am Mike Luke. Scheer, we have a lot to get to here. We're going to, first of all, talk football. Being up in the press box, I was telling you this, and I've been telling you this from day one. This Arizona football team is a bowl team, and I feel comfortable saying it, and I think you do as well.
Yeah, I haven't changed my stance. We both think that they're making a bowl. I don't know how many wins that'll be, but I would be surprised if they don't.
All right. Now, offensively, this team, I believe, should be one of the top 3 or 4 offenses in the entire conference. Jayden de Laura, I would expect to be a little bit more consistent. But, man, the skill position guys here, and we've been talking about this all offseason, but the skill position guys at receiver and running back are absolutely loaded. And we got Speedy Luke hopping back in there as well, who we're going to get to in just a second.
Yeah, I mean, the offense I don't worry about at all. There's just too many weapons. Jayden de Laura, it looks like he's improved since last season. It's the side of the ball. I mean, we talk about it because we're confident in it. Speedy Luke clearly looks like he's going to be a bigger part of the offense, like you said. And everything just looks good. I mean, when you're looking at a guy like Kevin Green doing what he did in the spring game, it's what he did all spring, and he's the 3rd wide receiver on the team.
Right now, I think I got to believe that he's going to be that starting 3rd receiver. I know Malachi Riley's been really good, and there's some other guys in there. But this is the 2nd straight year that Kevin Green has done this, where he's just getting open. When the lights are on, there's just something about this young man where he's able to make plays, and he's been doing that.
Yeah, it's Green. Green's going to start. Riley's been awesome, but he's on the outside, so he's kind of going to have to wait his turn for a year, similar to what Green did with Cowing, and then when those guys leave, Riley will step right in and start. But Green's clearly the guy in the slot. He disappeared for a little bit during the spring. Jaden Clark played well a little bit, and maybe Jaden Clark backs him up. But Kevin Green's the type of guy where he's just, we saw it last year in the spring. We said that we thought he would be good, and Arizona's top 3 receivers were just too good to get Green on the field. This year, Green is one of those top 3 receivers, so he'll be on the field plenty.
And I've gone back and forth in my mind. I would love to see some 2 tight end looks, too, with this team. Because, again, Tanner McLaughlin's not coming off the field. He's fantastic. Kean Burnett, who I just found out lives about 8 doors down from me. I see him going in his on his little scooter every single day as well. Those are 2 guys that are going to be hard to keep off the field as well. So just from a pass-catching perspective, Jayden de Laura doesn't have anything he can really complain about.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some different looks. I think we're going to see some 2 tight end sets. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sets with Burnett at wide receiver. And I think we're going to see the running backs a lot more involved in the passing game. That's been an emphasis during the spring. It does look like while this offense is the same as last year, Jetfish has definitely put in some new looks this season because of that talent.
Yeah, and, obviously a lot of people talking about Dorian Singer, who left Arizona to go to USC, where he's currently running with the 2s, which is somewhat interesting. But, you see Cowing and you look at T-Mac. These are both guys that should be all conference. And if they're not all conference, they should be right there as well. You could say the same thing about McLaughlin as well. And just the amount, and I know that I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but unless you see it up close, the amount of talent overhaul just on this offense is absolutely it's mind-boggling. I mean, just think about where we were a couple years ago, where you had Gunnar Cruz and you had Will Plummer throwing, and we love Stan Berryhill, but you had Stan Berryhill and then not much, not a ton else. I mean, what Fish has done in 24 months has been amazing. Yeah, I mean, look, the transfer portal makes that much easier, but at the same time, T-Mac is a freshman. Burnett was and when I say freshman, guys that Jed brought in as freshmen. Burnett, Jonas Havanea, Wendell Moe. I mean, so it's not Kevin Green. It's not all just, I'm going to rebuild in the transfer portal. They've done a nice job of having a mixture of guys. And, you take a look at the talent, and like you said, I mean, I always go back to like 3 years ago, the last year at Sumlin. I dreaded going to spring ball. I did not want to do it. And I can't think of any other time where I would tell Shelby, my wife, I don't want to go to work today. It's awful. I know what this team is. And this spring, it's like, okay, yeah, at least there's some fun. There's some talent. It's not like dreadful to go watch. And that's because of the upgrade that Jed Fish has made on both sides of the ball. And Jed Fish, again, I'm going to keep tweeting this out, but I think it bears relevance here. Jed Fish gets it. I know there's some people out there that are like, nobody cares about all the squirt guns and all that. They're wrong. I can tell you why, because I've been to these spring games before. This was a pretty good turnout here for Arizona fans. They did it well. And on top of that, you bring in Gronk, which is obviously a good thing. We're going to get to that in a little bit. You bring back Chris McAllister, the best player I've ever seen at Arizona, who hasn't even been on campus, I don't think, in probably 25 years almost. These are the kind of things that he said he was going to do, and he is doing that. And he's doing that into his third year in the program. And that's something that can't be lost because, again, we've seen the Sumlin promises. We've seen the Rich Rod promises. Fish is at least living out what he said he would do. Look, this isn't Athens or Tuscaloosa. Right. Nick Saban and Kirby, they don't need to do the water gun stuff because they're out here winning every game. Arizona's different. You got to appeal. Kevin Sumlin lost this fan base. And the best way to get it back is to go into the community and engage them and then win. And Jed Fish, from the day he was hired, engaged the community, and now comes the winning part. And look, to me, he's got to make a bowl in order to kind of sell that vision as not being BS. But at the same time, like, there's nothing wrong with it. And I know some people are like looking down at it, but it was fun to be at the spring game. It's a reward for a lot of these players. He's bringing back 250 alumni. Chris McAllister, I can't remember the last time he was on campus. And it's a big deal. And these guys aren't coming back to campus unless they believe in what they're seeing. All right. Now, we got to talk about something. We're going to believe what we're seeing. Our guy, my guy, Speedy Luke, Tham. Now, again, MVP of the All-American Bowl last year, didn't get as many touches as I think a lot of people thought. I don't care how it happens. I'm going to stick with this all year. He needs to get 10 touches a game. Don't care how it happens. He needs to get the ball in his hands at least 10 times per game. Yeah, I mean, the comparison I always come back to as a coach when they signed Speedy Luke, so that basically they were going to use him like Demetric Felton was used at UCLA. 3 or 4 carries, a couple end arounds, a couple kicks or punts, a couple catches. Before you know it, he has 10 touches for 80 yards and a touchdown. Right. And that's, and look, he's not going to be a guy that gets 20 carries. He's just not built that way. But you got to get him the ball in open space because more often than not, he's going to be the fastest guy on the field. And if he's not the fastest, he's right there. And so you got to be able to go into a game and say, look, we're going to get you touches in the open field. Go out and make some plays. What I don't understand, though, is the hesitancy to put him at as a kick returner here. Again, I've seen a lot of small people. DeAnthony Thomas return kicks. I've seen a lot of guys return kicks that are smaller. That doesn't mean that they're going to break. Again, this coaching staff knows what they're doing. But the last thing I don't want to see, basically what I don't want to see is last year where you have Anthony Simpson go back and just fair catch it every time. You've got weapons back there. Use them, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with you. And something I don't like is, I don't know if they're going to use Jacob Cowing as the kick returner, but I always hated that idea when you're number one receiver in a position where basically the other team that's kicking is lining up to kill you. Right. That's the kick return. Right. I like G7. I thought G7 wasn't bad.
at returning in the spring game. But that to me is the type of guy. It should be him. It should be Speedy Luke. It should be these fast guys where I hate to say it, but if Arizona loses Cowing, they're in deep trouble. If Arizona loses a G7 or a Speedy Luke, there's ways to make up for it. I mean, kick returning is just dangerous to begin with, and putting your number one receiver there it scares me, especially when you have a guy like Speedy Luke, who the whole point is to get him in the open field. Want a kickoff return. If he turns the corner and he's open the field, he's gone.
I knew. So we agree we need Speedy Luke returning kicks this year. You're throwing down the gauntlet right now.
Yeah, I mean, and if it's not Speedy Luke, I hate the idea of Jacob Cowing doing it.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. Now, you know, one thing that I don't hate right now is, and again, we're going to get to all the Nembhard stuff. Don't worry, we're going to get to all the Nembhard stuff. We got to give football its just due right here because, again, spring practice or it was very successful. We'll get to all of that. And again, people showed up. We're not ASU. People actually show up to back our product right there. So again, we got to talk about where we were at the spring game right there. But first, guess what isn't disappointing though? Circle K. Now, you might say, Mike, what about Circle K? Well, now that we've established that Jason Shearer has been to Circle K, I have been to Circle K. Our great producer, Leah, has been to Circle K as well. All right, so here's what we talked about. You can go to the toughest intersections in Tucson, Circle K. You can go to the nicest intersections in Tucson, Circle K. This is a company for the people, and they're right by my house on 6th Street as well. I went to Circle K, and I got a large drink, and I got gas, and I felt very good about it. I even took a picture that I'm going to tweet out later and pretend that it was real time. But again, now, make sure you're not missing out on all this great stuff. Head to circlek.com/store locator to find Circle K's near you. Again, it's a pinnacle of the community right here, Circle K. All right. Now, back to it again. We're going to get to all the Nembhard stuff. Promise. But we got to give football its due here. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, there's I've been saying this now for about 3 weeks. And maybe it's just me saying this to myself, but I don't care. Arizona just needs to finish 8th worst in the conference defensively. That's all. If you finish 8th worst, I just can't have you 11th or 12th. If you finish 8th, that means that you're probably having some games where you could win not having to score 45 points.
Yeah, I mean, it just needs to be better. Like, you go back and you look at the schedule last year, and it's like, how many times did Arizona beats Washington if the defense is better? No doubt in my mind. Arizona beats Cal if the defense is better. Well, now you're in a bowl game. Like, it just needs to be a little bit better. And 8, I think 8 is reasonable. You know, I don't think we should go and expect Arizona to have the second best defense in the conference. But if they can be the middle of the Pac-12, Arizona is going to win a couple more games than it did last season because there were multiple times where it couldn't make the big stop.
Right. One thing that I do like on the defensive line, and we saw this last year with Hunter Echols, kind of emerging. Not anybody really knew what to expect. Manoah's going to be that guy this year on the defensive line. I don't care where it is. He is going to be a starter on the defensive line, and I can see him making a very nice impact. He's been very good throughout spring, and I expect him to carry that into fall camp.
Yeah, I think Arizona's defensive line is going to surprise people. Manoah had a really good spring. Even Fish said he was surprised. This is a guy that UCLA basically screwed up recruiting, and so they had to move him out, to the offensive line, which was just a bad decision. Bill Norton got what was a little out of shape at the beginning of camp, no longer out of shape. All of a sudden, they have 2 300-pound guys. They're probably adding another one from the transfer portal. The defensive line all of a sudden goes from a weakness last season to a very legitimate position unit that Arizona has.
Now, we were talking about kick returners. Do you expect linemen? Do you expect Bill Norton to be involved in this competition?
That was awesome. I love when they try to get line. People don't realize how hard it is to return a punt or a kick.
Right. It's not easy, exactly. Especially too. And Big Bill Norton was in the area, so again, we're going to give him credit for that one. Now, there are options on the defensive line right here, and B-Cat, you're probably onto something right there. So again, we'll just leave it at that. But
be patient with that one.
Be patient. Again, sometimes you just got to let things happen right here. Jason McCoy, I'm looking at you. So again, we're going to get to Nembhard. Now, on the defensive line, though, I got some options now. I got Kangaika. I got Uiagalelei. I've got Deuce Davis. I've got Manoa. I got Big Bill Norton. Again, maybe none of these guys are NFL players, but I at least have some people that look like they should be playing Power 5 big-time football, Sheer. And again, when you've been rooting for Arizona as long as we have, you get used to seeing guys that are about 250 pounds, and you have to pretend that they're actually as strong as a 330-pounder.
Well, I was talking to a coach about this, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think about the defensive line?" and blah blah blah. And he basically said, "Look, is there room for improvement in the future? Yes, but we look like a defensive line should look like. We have 300-pound guys that can, be physical and aren't going to get pushed back. And that's the biggest thing. When you watched Arizona's defensive line the last few years, it would get pushed back right off the snap, and that would be that. You're not pushing Manoa and Norton right off the snap. It is not happening with those guys' size. And that's going to make this defense significantly better right from the jump.
One guy that we haven't talked a lot about this spring, and I have no clue what to expect, and I tell people this, and I feel bad about it because I think I should know what to expect, but I don't. Sterling Lane, ex-4-star kid out of Oaks Christian, came in as a linebacker. They used him a little bit as a pass rusher this past year. Bigger kid. But again, I don't know what to expect here. And I'm just going to be being honest there because, again, he's a kid that came in, as a 4-star recruit. What do you see in him?
It's tough because there'd be days where he was awesome. Like we saw a scrimmage and he was fantastic. And then you wouldn't even see him or hear about him for the next 3 practices.
Right.
And part of that is a guy that hasn't played before at the college level or played enough snaps. That's what happens when they get adjusted to it. But I don't really know. I don't think he's a bust or anything like that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't have a major role this season just because of that consistency. But then again, the season may start and he may find that consistency, but he's the type of guy to me you're going to see the reward a year or so from now rather than this season.
All right. I like Oliver Lode right there. I like this. I like where your mind's at. What are the chances of having 5 peaks next season? We're going to get to that. But again, it would be 4 peaks plus 1 because we got to keep the 4 peaks reference in there. Again, we're not going to lose track of what got us here. Now, on the back 7, then Justin Flo is a beast. I think Justin Flo, if he is not the best player on the defense, then I think that it's going to be something went wrong for Arizona then because everything is going to be funneled towards him. The coaches obviously love him. He looks physically the part in spades, and he had a very, very good spring camp.
Yeah, it's with him. To me, it's just a matter of keeping him healthy. If he's healthy, he'll be the best player on Arizona's defense. That's been one of his issues in the past. I think everybody, including the coaching staff, is surprised by how quickly he bought in and how disciplined he is. Coming from Oregon, it was, he doesn't run the plays or whatever. He runs the plays. Like he's in his area, and he hits hard, and he's a physical specimen. He's actually surprised me. I was a little iffy on him. You always bring a guy with his talent in, but a lot of times you see that talent isn't necessarily, it doesn't come to fruition. I think it will with Flo. I think he's going to have, assuming he's healthy, he's going to have a very good season for Arizona.
I'm going to go on record and say I think there's multiple defensive backs here as well. And again, we're going to get to who. There are multiple defensive backs here who I believe are going to play in the NFL. And not only that, we're going to get some guys that we think are going to play in the league here in a second. But again, you watch Ephesians Prysock. I know Christian Roland Wallace moved on. I feel very good about Ephesians Prysock right there. I also feel pretty good about Charles Yates, not to the extent that I feel about Prysock. And then I'm telling you, at the safety position, don't know when, don't know how, but Genesis Smith, when he hits the field as a starter, he will never come out, Jason Shearer.
Yeah, I would say if you ask me to list the pros or the guys I think will be playing in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball, Prysock and Smith are right there. Right. They might be the first 2 guys. Flo's obviously up there if he stays healthy and all that. But, Smith is awesome. He's going to have the freshman learning curve, but it wouldn't shock me if by the end of the year he's starting. And I do agree with you. Once he starts, he starts. It's going to be a 3-year starter or whatever it is, but he won't leave the field as a starter. And when you watch him, he strikes me as an Adam Hall type. He just looks like him, has a number and all that. But I think he's a little bit more athletic, a little bit of a different frame. But Smith is going to be really good. It may not come early this season, but it'll come eventually.
Okay, now on the let's see here, Leah, if you were able to pull up the Arizona football pass catchers here, I wanted to go over something right here. If you have that readily available, if not, certainly okay. So basically, then with the now you're good, don't worry about it. So with Arizona, I look on the offensive side, and here are the guys that I say for a fact will play in the NFL, and it feels just weird saying this, and we've got to accentuate this again. Jordan Morgan is going to play in the NFL. Jonas Sabanea is going to play in the NFL. T-Mac is going to play in the NFL. Jacob Cowing is going to play in the NFL. I just named 4 guys on the Arizona offense that are going to play in the NFL, and it seems like it's been 20 years since we've had a draft pick. That is the talent improvement we're talking about right here.
And I think you can make an argument. I don't know if they'll get drafted, but I could see Tanner McLaughlin making the roster. I can see, if Wendell Moe continues on his progression. I can see him. Yeah, I can see them. So I think we're guaranteed 4, which is crazy because it's like watching the NFL draft, waiting to hear Arizona players called. It's been quite a while.
Right.
And, it's going to be a thing where Jetfish kind of said it a year too early, but he basically said, the years of Arizona not having any players drafted are gone. We're going to have a player drafted almost every year. Okay.
Now we're going to get to basketball right here, but first got to pay the bills. Foco is back. You might say, Mike, where'd it go? It never left. That's the answer. Foco is the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessory, toys, collectibles, novelty items, you name it, they got it. Foco always has at the back of Arizona sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in the description for all non-presale items. Use promo code PHNX for 10% off. The great Jacob Franklin would like you to do that. And as we know on this show, what Jacob Franklin wants, Jacob Franklin gets. So again, Foco right there. Now, so again, we're in the same page. I believe that Arizona is a 7-win team, and I believe that Arizona is going to be significantly better than ASU this year.
I'm with you. We stand strong.
You're back in the A right there. I like it. All right, Arizona hoops now. We're going to get to Ryan Nembhard. So Ryan Nembhard visited Gonzaga, and now he was on his visit here to Arizona. There was a lot of good people that he could have run into on his visit here. This was a good time for him to come. I believe that this is probably going to be over sooner than later. As a matter of fact, I would expect that to be done this week.
Yeah, I think people need to calm down a little bit. I don't even know if his visit's over. It ended today.
I don't believe it is yet. Right.
Yeah, so it's like, why? We need an update. I mean, the update is he's going to go on a plane and go home. I don't think he's going to commit on his visit. Most players don't commit on their visits, especially transfers. He'll go home. He'll think about it. I don't think this drags out. We're going to know one way or another by the end of the week is my guess.
Yep. And you know what? So let's just assume. And first of all, like we've been saying from day one, we both back the A around here. We're both big Tommy Gunn fans. But we'll keep it real here. If for some reason he doesn't end up here, we will get on Tommy Lloyd because this is absolutely a commitment that he should be able to get right here. You've got the playing time. You've got a nice little fit right there. So let's just assume then that you've got that backcourt then of Kylan Boswell and Ryan Nembhard. It doesn't get much better than that, actually, I believe, on the West Coast of college basketball. You got 2 dudes right there that you know what they're about. Now we got Azuolas Tubelis. He's gone. Olivier Koumois. We're with, obviously, he's looking at Michigan. I want this guy, though. I have really grown to like him, and I think he would be a nice fit, even though you think that he might be a little bit of a redundant fit next to our guy, Umar Ballo.
Well, I will let him know that you want him. He may not know that yet, so that could be, change the tide in the recruitment.
Oh, he's admiring from afar.
But I think, the thing that I'm curious about with him is Tennessee doesn't run a legitimate offense. But
you hate Rick Barnes. Be honest, you do.
I don't like Rick Barnes at all.
Correct.
I'll go one step further. You ready? I'm going to make you happy today. If you gave me a choice between Muss and Barnes, I choose Muss.
Well, I mean, come on, dude. Muss is actually good. Andy Enfield or Barnes?
Ooh. Barnes, I feel like you know what you're getting, which is no matter what happens during the regular season, you're losing in the first 2 rounds.
Right.
No matter what. Like we've seen the talent with it. Bad players don't drop 27 on Duke in the NCAA tournament.
Or
right.
Texas.
And Yeah, and it's like you put him on Arizona's offense. I think he's going to do better. I think defensively he's better. It does bother me, and I do wonder a little bit if it's a little too much bulk in the front court, not enough speed or athleticism. But I don't dislike Olivier. I mean, I think he's a legitimately good player. I will say about his recruitment, I think Arizona is very much in this. And the longer it goes, I actually think the better it is for Arizona. Michigan is still kind of fooling around with Hunter Dickinson and NIL and all that. And I know some Michigan people have put out there that they're going to land Olivier, and they might, but by no means is it the lock or the guarantee that they think it is. Arizona is absolutely involved in this recruitment.
Speaking of one thing we need to dispel before we get back to, and again, anytime you give me an opportunity to make fun of Big Ten hoops, I'm going to take it right there. Hunter Dickinson is the epitome of a Big Ten basketball player. We don't want him. But Arizona is not paying $1 million for Arthur Kaluma. I've been asked about this probably 10 to 15 times per day. I want it to stop. Arizona will not be paying him $1 million. They are not paying anybody $1 million.
Arizona couldn't pay $1 million. If Arthur Kaluma came to Arizona and said, if you give me $1 million, I will commit before you finish your sentence, Arizona would say, good for you. We can't do that. It's not paying $1 million, number one. Number two, I reached out to someone and I said, Arthur Kaluma in Arizona. Everyone keeps asking me. No, the answer was no right away. It is a no. It's not a thing. He's not in the transfer portal. When he enters the transfer portal, I'm assuming the money he's going to want is ridiculous, considering he went to Creighton mostly for money in the first place. So, like, people forget that. So I would not expect Arthur Kaluma to be a member of the Arizona roster. Please stop asking me.
This is fake news. We are asking here. We are on the front lines of journalistic integrity right here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. This is fake news, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. Give the $1 million to me, not to Arthur Kaluma, if that's actually out there.
Yes, we could also split it. We'll split
You know what else I need, though? And I don't want to have to rely on the guy from Macedonia for this or another player. I need another wing. I need a guy that can make plays with the dribble. I'm assuming we're getting Nembhard and that we've got Kylan Boswell and you got Pella. Pella, again, my bad, Pella. Pella is going to be the never-ending saga for me because I look like an idiot every time Pella does well, as I should. But Pella can't dribble, though. I need somebody else that can dribble and can make some plays right there. I like KJ Lewis. A lot, but I need another wing in there that can do some stuff.
Yeah, I got to admit, that's the one position I haven't heard a lot about. I know that there is a wing overseas, but I don't know actually how serious that is.
It's a Philly B type wing. Nothing wrong with that, by the way, but is this a Philly B?
No, he's different.
Okay.
He is different. But I don't know how serious that is. I haven't heard the kid's name brought up in a while. But they do need another wing. And they may be saying, look, let's shore up the front court with Azulis. Let's shore up the backcourt, and then we'll kind of see the wing situation. And I'm sure they're expecting Philly B to improve, but they still need that athletic defensive type of wing that can give you, almost like a Cedric Henderson that'll actually come off the bench and give you some decent minutes and be able to do a little bit of everything.
Said to me is the ideal, as we've talked about, said to me is the ideal 7th or 8th guy right there. Yeah. Again, don't really want him starting, but man, you look back at it, he gave you 9, 4, and 2 or whatever it was. You take said Henderson every day of the week right there, but I would like to see Arizona tap into that. My concern is this, and again, take this for what it's worth, as the Tommy Gunn is the most successful coach all time in college basketball his first 2 years. Meanwhile, I am sitting here in my room with a bunch of Back the A logos behind me and a fake ladder. So take that for what it's worth. But I do worry a little bit, though, about just kind of having the international thing being a catch-all for everything. Well, we didn't get anybody in the portal, or we got one guy. We'll just go overseas and find some people. In the day of the portal, I believe that it is much easier to get guys that can come in and contribute. And that's I don't want to say concerned, but that's something that I don't want to see become just kind of a catch-all.
I get the concern, but you also kind of I get the concern, but to me, you also you either trust Tommy Lloyd's evaluations on international guys or you don't. And let's
talk about it for a second. Let's talk about it. That's a great point.
He's missed on some guys, but there's also sometimes we don't know Philly B. If he's good this year, Tommy clearly hit on his eval. Now,
Missed on Adama.
Yeah, but if you're looking, no, I will say this. If you're looking for immediate guys, less likely overseas than in the portal, 100%. If you're looking for guys that may be really good in year 2 and 3, international guys are fine to me. But when you're looking for that immediate portal guy, I do understand where you're coming from.
But I do believe that you've got to be able to get those guys. I think this is you look at, and again, you brought up the great Eric Musselman right there. I'm not saying that I want this where you basically lose everybody and you bring in 12 new guys each year. But
guards, by the way.
What's that?
Only brought in guards. I've never seen
brought in Matt.
I don't know how he convinces all these guards to come. Like, these guards are coming off the bench. He literally has 6 guards.
Do you think it has to do with his chest?
He's a good-looking man when he takes that shirt off.
I was going to say, man. So, again, maybe that has something to do with it. But what I don't get, but I do believe in this era of the transfer portal, I think you should be able to get around 2 guys each year that are real contributors, real guys that you can. Now, again, if you get Olivier, if you get Kylan Boswell, this point is all moot. Or Kylan Boswell, Ryan Nembhard, this point is all moot. But I do believe you should be able to get at least 2 guys per cycle right there.
You know what, Bob? It's funny that I'm saying this, but I think Tommy's too truthful. Like, he tells the truth. Like, he'll tell a transfer, no, man, like, Pella's probably starting and you're going to come off the bench and play 20 minutes. Like, Muss landed 6 guards. I guarantee you he told them all that they could start. 100%. Yeah. And that's I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's what every coach did. Every coach or most coaches that recruit kids say, you're going to play 30 minutes and start for me. You're going to be the star. And then when they get there, it's not the case, which is why you see a bunch of kids transfer out all the time. And like Muss, for instance, is replacing whole teams because he's telling these guys you're going to come in and start. Whatever works. But I think Tommy doesn't do that from what I've told. Tommy will be like, you know what? My starting center is Umar Ballo. That's it. He's starting. You're going to come in and play behind him. And if you're a kid of the portal, you're like, no, I'm not.
Right. You're like a bone elsewhere.
Right. And so I think it almost hurts Arizona's recruiting, but it also says he's also able to keep certain guys like Ballo and Boswell, et cetera, because he's honest with them. So
what you're saying is that you want Tommy Lloyd to lie more. Is that fair? Leah, can you timestamp this, please, at 33:12? Jason Shear is calling for Tommy Lloyd to lie. Go ahead.
I think every coach in America should lie to players and fake it because they do. We both know they do. Like, no, I agree. Like you look at Muss was an example, but you look at other teams, you go, how do they have 3 point guards? Well, one of them's not going to play, but they all think they're going to play. And so it's like,
you know who did that? Your boy Sean Miller. 100%. Sean Miller did that with all. Remember when he was telling Brandon? Remember the year that he had Tarzuski?
No, but I think that would have happened. The Brandon Nico thing. I think that would have happened. I do think that. Together.
I'm talking about the 3 big men that he got that were all the top 10 when you had Tarzuski, Jarrett, and Ashley, and Ashley was going to play the 3.
Yeah, they all do it.
No, I like it.
Yeah, you should do it. And it's like when we look at football and these teams have like 3 top 10 quarterbacks, you're all going to have a chance to start. No, you're not. And then they enter the portal. That's why there's 1,100 players in the portal, because they all believe their coach's pitch, and then they get to campus and realize that it's all BS.
All right. Now, Jason Shear, you have problems sleeping, correct?
Yeah.
Like very bad problems sleeping.
I don't sleep, so.
All right. Here is what OGs is here for you now. OGs is here to help Jason Shear and to make people also feel better about themselves. But here's the cool thing. OGs is much more than the gummies. They're about the culture and everything we do here at PHNX. Now, again, here's what you do. You can get the new collab shirt. OGs Brands is now live. If you want to get your hands on this dope, make sure you get your ticket to Buds of Palooza right there. I do like that right there. And you know what? At these OGs events, you know who you could probably run into at some point? The great Shane Diefenbach. You'll be able to see Shane there, all 6'6" of him, hanging out. You know what? If it's good enough for him, it's good enough for anybody right there. So again, check it out. PHNX and OGs. You might even see Shane Diefenbach there if you're lucky. And if you're Jason Shear and you can't sleep, OGs can help you out there as well. Lots of different avenues for Jason Shear. Have you ever tried OGs, Jason Shear?
I have not.
You know what? Maybe I can help you with this. I might know a few people.
Hook it up, Mike.
All right. We're going to try to do it. Now, you and I are going to be up in Phoenix in a week and a half. We're talking Carter Bryant and Jamari Phillips now. First of all, has the credential link been put out there yet?
It has not. It's very top, hush, hush. We're just trying to get in. They don't know who we are yet. They'll know. They'll understand.
So if you want to see us, we might be hanging out with the common folk there. But Carter Bryant is there. I believe that this thing is coming to an end sooner than later. I take it for what it's worth, as I'm no insider, but I do believe that he is a Wildcat sometime this month. I would be surprised if he's not.
I would agree with you. I still have not heard anything to lead me to believe it won't be Arizona. Commitment could come this week. It could come next week, but it'll be done by the end of this month. I think. I hope.
Okay, so one thing that we've been talking about is getting explosive wings here at Arizona, guys that are athletic, guys that can make some plays off the bounce. Now, again, your agency 24/7 is not a big fan of KJ Lewis. I am a big fan of KJ Lewis. You are. Do you want to break away from the iceberg there and carve your own way for KJ Lewis?
I think there's two sides to KJ Lewis, and this is where the debate with 24/7 was. If you asked a national guy about his rebounding and defense, they would tell you right away, absolutely college ready. If you ask about his offense, they say it's got a long way to go. And so it depends on what you want. I think his playing time as a freshman will be determined by his defense, his rebounding, passing, etc. I wouldn't expect him to come in and average 10 points a game. I just don't think he's that kind of player.
12 minutes per game, though?
I mean, it depends what they land a wing, right? Like if they don't go out and land another wing, they clearly think KJ is good for 12 minutes a game.
All right. Now, I say that so I can tell you this. Jamari Phillips is going to be here. Jamari Phillips is a player committed to the 2024 class. He is a domestic recruit, everyone, out of California. And again, top 40 kid. He's fallen a little bit in the rankings, but he's an interesting guy when you look at his highlights because he's not a great athlete per se. He's kind of the opposite a little bit of KJ Lewis, but he's pretty skilled. He's natural with the ball. I'm excited to see what he can do, and I'm excited to see him up at the EYBL there, Sheer.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's a unique.
Is he underrated by the people you work for?
I think we dropped him a little bit, didn't we?
You did drop him.
His year at Compass wasn't outstanding. I don't know how comfortable he got there, but I like him a lot. He could play the one, he could play the two, he could score on a variety of levels. He's engaged. I think he's going to be a very nice fit for what Arizona likes to do.
I think he's going to be a very nice fit as well. And that's where, again, the 2024 class, people ask me all the time, can the Tommy Gunn recruit? I always say, you know what, we're going to know in the 2024 class. It can't just be loaded with international players. You're going to have to get some domestic guys. Again, you already got Phillips right there, which is a good look. Then if you can get Carter Bryant, all of a sudden, because Carter Bryant is elite. I mean, this is a guy that, everybody talked about how Sean Miller could always get top 3-4 guys. This is the type of guy that Sean Miller landed pretty much every single class year.
Well, I always say there's not all 5 stars are created the same. There's
right.
Your top 5 stars, which are usually good, awesome, immediate impact. You're going to the NBA. And then there's guys where it's more potential than anything. Carter Bryant is a kid where he's going to come in. You expect him to start as a freshman, be a freshman of the year type of candidate in the conference, nationally be named he is really, really good. He would be the best recruit that Tommy's landed by far.
Have you run with my Jason Tatum comparison yet? Because that is the comparison.
Yes. Yeah, that is 100% the comparison. Okay. Looks like him, plays like him, all of it.
Did you put credit in the the photo, Michael Luke?
Jason Shear, correct.
All right, well, fair enough. You know what? At least as long as one of us got credit for my idea, that's a good idea. Now, any other names then? I haven't really heard any other names. But again, this is so weird, though, because, again, when it was Miller, we knew there was 10 guys, all 5 stars. And you know what? We're going to cover those guys. Lloyd is far more secretive, as is Mr. Jack Murphy with all of this.
I think that after UIBL, there will be names. We're going to know who Arizona is recruiting seriously. I know we're going to watch Koa Pete for 2025. He's not UIBL, but in June is that high school tournament that we went to last year. So that'll be, we'll be back.
Do you want to tell the people there about how you said a top 3 player in the nation wasn't good enough for Arizona?
Yeah, I don't think Cody Williams is going to be that good in college.
So you would not have offered Cody Williams, correct? Because you came away from that same.
No. You always change a little bit. When Arizona did not offer Cody Williams, I didn't have an issue with it. he clicked. Something like his high school season was not very good. I know he made McDonald's All-American. I don't care. It wasn't a very when you look at him, it wasn't that good of a year, right? And then you go and you see him, and we saw him the first game. He didn't do anything. He had that one game, I think it was the second game, where he went nuts, and he was a solid player. Should Arizona have offered him earlier? Yeah. If Cody Williams was in Texas, should Arizona have offered him earlier? I don't think so. But I'll say this. I'm really curious to see how he does at Colorado. I think that's a weird fit.
I think it's a weird fit as well. But, you guys have him ranked in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
I can break away a little bit.
All right. So you would put him in the top 50, fringe top 50. Is that correct?
What do we have him in? Top 30. Top 30.
You'd have him in top 30. All right. Jason Shearer, who does not offer top 30 in-state kids at the University of Arizona.
I said I would offer him.
All right. Well, you know what?
Now we have him at number 8. We have him at number 8.
Do you want to give me any credit for saying Tommy Lloyd's going to offer him that evening, and then Tommy Lloyd told us he was going to offer him that evening? Will you give Mike Luke any credit right here?
I will. I will give you credit.
All right. One guy that we got to talk about here, though, too, and a lot of internal improvement here, Henrik Veesaar. Now that the movement to push Dylan Anderson out of Arizona has been thwarted, the Henrik Veesaar, I need Henry to take that. I love Dylan Anderson. Everybody knows my opinion on Dylan Anderson. Anybody that follows me, anyways. But I love Henry. But Henry's got to be the dude that makes that jump. He's got to me to be 9'5" and a block and a half, and show a little bit of the stroke in practice that he's shown here.
Yeah, to me, he's the number one guy that needs to take a jump. If he can take a jump, not even we're not talking elite, but if he can be a formidable big man, that changes everything. He can shoot, he can run. He didn't show it last year. He struggled with confidence. If they can get that confidence up and give him the confidence to display his actual ability, I think people are going to be very surprised. And I do know the coaching staff absolutely believes he's going to take a major jump in the offseason.
All right. Now, guess who just texted me right now?
Uh-oh.
The great Bruce Pascoe. All right. So Bruce is also having the same problem with the EYBL stuff. So we got to get on this right here. I'm going to pass your number along, Sheer, because you got to keep us up to date on this. EYBL up in Phoenix in less than 2 weeks. Come on, chop.
Well, they opened up the media. They're opening up the media the week of. So Monday.
Now you already have your hotel reservations, correct?
I made that a while ago.
All right, smart man right there. Now, one thing you don't need reservations for is Tap and Bottle. Our good friends at Tap and Bottle, the Tap and Bottle Watch Party, Scott and Rebecca, the salt of the earth. You cool people to support local. You can go to the downtown location, or you can go to the northwest location. My guy Matt Muehlbach comes with me from time to time to Tap and Bottle. We would love to see you all up there. And guess what you can also get? 4 Peaks there. 4 Peaks at Tap and Bottle, and a good food truck as well. All right. Sheer, we've had people that want to talk about baseball and softball real quick. Here's what I'm going to say, because I know you're itching to get at Dave Hickey about both of these. I will say this. Caitlin Lowe has nothing. Dave Hickey, all those people had nothing to do with Caitlin Lowe's hire. Mike Candrea was going to make that hire. He was always going to make that hire. And there's not a GM. There's not an AD in the country. Chip Hale, for good or bad, is Dave's hire, but I do not blame good or bad for Caitlin Lowe's. That's correct.
I would agree with that. I mean, Caitlin Lowe is clearly a Mike Candrea choice. They just got to bring in the talent. They're very young right now. It wouldn't surprise me if they turn it around next year. Chip Hale, you know my feelings on him.
Yeah, all right. No, I am absolutely all in on Chip, because I need to be all in on Chip to make Sheer look dumb, and to Dave look like the great giant that he is. So again, we will be on that. All right, before we sign off right here, Jason Sheer, where can they find you causing trouble? Where can they find me possibly annoying people as well?
WildcatAuthority.com. We're having a 50% off an annual subscription sale. It ends tomorrow night. Trust me when I tell you there's going to be a lot of news coming up in the next few weeks. Definitely worth it. Wildcat Scoop Podcast with my wife Shelby, and then at Jason Sheer on Twitter.
All right. That's Jason Sheer. I am Mike Luke. Big thanks to Leah behind the scenes for making all this work. Again, if it wasn't for Leah, we wouldn't be here. So again, thank you, Leah. Well, all right, we're gonna take a break here, but the break only lasts until 12:30 tomorrow when I'm back on with William Brad Alice. Talk to you guys tomorrow. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.